I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. Ooh. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you only go.
Came back with another video, and today I'm going to be breaking down and going over my top 5 Senior Bowl risers. But before we get into it, please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agree with or disagree with in the comments so we can have conversations about it. And please make sure to subscribe to the channel to be able to keep up with all my NFL content, whether it's Senior Bowl stuff, NFL Combine, NFL Drafts, Super Bowl, and free agency. So the Senior Bowl is happening today. It hasn't happened yet the time we're recording this video, but on February 1st, it's happening all this week. We've had Senior Bowl practices, news, reports coming out of who's dominating, stuff like that. And the Senior Bowl is something every year that all the seniors coming into the NFL draft get to go play and kind of prove themselves and make a name for themselves to a lot of these NFL teams and scouts. And it's really a good way for players to be able to rise up boards, or if even worse, if they do bad, fall down boards. So today and tomorrow, I'm going to be giving you my top 5 Senior Bowl risers today, and tomorrow I'm going to be putting out a video of my top 5 Senior Bowl fallers. So jumping into this one, breaking down each one. At number 1, my number 1 Senior Bowl riser, I have Jackson Dart, quarterback out of Ole Miss. Originally, he would, before the Senior Bowl, he was seen kind of as a day 2 type quarterback in a weak quarterback class. He was kind of seen as that QB3 behind Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and he was seen, not really talked about in the first round. He could be like a round 2 type guy, someone takes a flyer on him, or maybe even a round 3, or maybe even fall into day 3 if the quarterbacks start to fall and they're not really a fan. But at the Senior Bowl, he was really able to go out, and now after the Senior Bowl, there's a lot of buzz, a whole lot of buzz about him being even QB2 in this class. Now, I don't know which one it'd be over, if it'd be over Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, but there was a report that a lot of scouts actually after the Senior Bowl have him as QB2 on their draft boards. So now there's a lot of buzz of him starting to go into the late first round. Maybe one of those later teams don't want to take a quarterback like Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders in the first round, and they just want to go pure talent, get the best player available. Maybe a team like the Giants want to pass on it, and maybe a Travis Hunter falls to him, or they end up taking, just Tedero McMillan to get more weapons, or somebody like that in the early first round, maybe a Mason Graham, and then they end up trading up with their late or with their early second round pick into the late first round to try to get that 5th-year option on Jackson Dart to be able to take kind of like a little, just kind of like a dart throw on him, because no pun intended, because he's just been showing out and he shows that elite arm ability. And throughout the Senior Bowl, you can see tons of clips on Twitter if you go and look at it. He was really able to show off his great ball placement. There was a ton of the red zone drills where there was either a fade route or a quick out route. He was able to put that ball straight on the money where it needed to be, giving his receiver the best chance to catch it where only his receiver could. And it really just demonstrated his elite ball placement. And then really, secondly, his decision making when it came to the full team drills or the 7-on-7s, he was able to pretty much read the defense immediately and put the ball where it needed to be. And I think that's where a lot of teams are going to fall in love. He had a ton of production at Ole Miss, but that Ole Miss was a very talented team, and he was in a Lane Kiffin offense, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But in the past, a lot of players that have came out of like an Ole Miss with the Lane Kiffin offense really haven't been too successful, like a Matt Corral, who was did wonders in college. But so that's kind of the question of Jackson Dart. Is he going to be able to survive outside that Lane Kiffin offense? That's a lot of, quick RPOs and getting the ball out quick. Can he actually sit back and kind of read the defense and be able to put that ball where it needs to? That's not just in the RPO, that's just getting it out quick and letting your playmakers go to work. So that's pretty much the question, but it really looks like that if he has a great day at the combine, he could be a lock first round pick and be even the number 2 quarterback off the board potentially, is a lot of the buzz. Now, it really depends how it comes out. Maybe he doesn't really have like the strongest arm, so maybe that kind of deters people from being able to, be able to draft Jackson Dart in the late first round. Maybe they want to wait. But as of right now, after the Senior Bowl, with him balling out with his placement and decision making, it really does start to look like that he's going to be a first round pick, and maybe there's going to be 3 quarterbacks taken in this weak quarterback class that we have going on. So moving on to number two. Number two, we have another Ole Miss, Jackson Dart's Ole Miss teammate, Walter Nolan, who is a D tackle in this draft. Before the Senior Bowl, he was kind of seen as a late first round pick. A lot of people have him going towards the end to like maybe like a Buffalo Bills, a Kansas City Chiefs, team like that could use another interior piece to be able to stop the run. Now he in the Senior Bowl, he was really showing out and he was a dominant force. He couldn't be blocked at one-on-ones for the first 3 days of practice. A lot of the reports was that he was just unblockable and he was really the star of the show. He was one of the number one risers, and now he's kind of seen he went from that late first round bust to the teens, to maybe like a team like the Arizona Cardinals, maybe like a Bengals, maybe even a Chicago Bears. So a lot of people think that he could even go into that 10-13 area in the top 10. Somebody like that, because he was just so dominant. He was able to pretty much beat every offensive lineman that he went against at the Senior Bowl. No one was able to block him. And this was a lot of the talent that we seen on the film. It was just some people were kind of questioning it against certain teams in certain areas. But once he came out in the Senior Bowl and he was able to pretty much beat anybody he lined up against, no matter who it was, it really just confirmed what everybody seen on film and what everybody was able to look at with his measurables, because he has that freakish build, and in my opinion, he's one of the best pure pass rushers on the interior of the defensive line in this class. If you're looking for a defensive tackle that can go in and make some pressures and get the quarterback to be able to hurry up his throws or maybe even get some sacks, then Walter Nolan's that guy that's going to be on that interior defensive line at that three technique or that nose guard that's able to just go line up and go get after the passer, beating whoever he's lined up against, whether it's the guard or the center. And he's definitely gonna wreak havoc up there on that defensive line. He was pretty much this Ole Miss team after the Senior Bowl is kind of seen as one of the most talented teams in college football last year, because they had a ton of athletes that came out to the Senior Bowl and showed out, with the two main ones being Jackson Dart and Walter Nolan, raising their draft stocks. And Walter Nolan could be even a top 10 pick if somebody wants to take a flyer on him, but he's definitely seen as that early teens guy and in that 12 to 13 range with some of those teams that are in that area. So moving on, number three, the number three riser of this was Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. Now, he was kind of fighting with the other edge rusher from Texas A&M. He was originally seen as like a late first, maybe early day two guy in the early second round, if no one wanted to pick him up in the first round. But now he's definitely, after the Senior Bowl, he was pretty much a lock. He's pretty much a lock in the first round. He's going to go somewhere from the early 20s, even somewhere in the late teens, I think, around that 17 to 24 mark in the draft. That's definitely where he's going to go. And he could even go up even more with the combine, but he's definitely solidified himself into the middle of the first. His biggest question was he was one of the better run defenders in college football last year. But a lot of teams, when they watch this film, and if you go and watch this film, you kind of question his pass rushing skills. A lot of his pass rushing skills were, not very defined, and he didn't get a lot of pressures or sacks on the quarterback. He was more of that, stonewall run defender type guy that's either going to force the running back to bounce it outside, or he's going to come up and make a play, not allowing the offensive line to be able to get movement. And he's kind of like a tweener. He's kind of the inside defender or he could be able to bump out to that edge spot. He could play either one. And the main question was, is he going to be able to bounce outside and play that edge defender role on an NFL team? But at the Senior Bowl, a ton of the reports showed, and a lot of what he did in the clips on the Senior Bowl showed that he is pretty much a dominant edge player, and he showed off a lot of his pass rushing skills, and he pretty much put that question to bed of a lot of teams that had on him with his pass rushing ability from last year, and he pretty much told all these teams that I'm not just an edge rusher. I'm not just a run defender that's going to stop the run. I'm a guy that's going to come off the edge and be able to get to the quarterback and show off all my defined pass skills against a lot of the tackles that he was able to pretty much beat a lot of them with. And he's pretty much rosing up the boards from a questionable first round pick of someone that could go or fall into the late day two to somebody that's definitely going to go, and he's guaranteed pretty much a lock to be in the first round. The number four edge rusher is one of my favorite players in this class. He is Mike Green from the University of Marshall. He's kind of that smaller build as an edge rusher, kind of more, of the smaller build. So he was kind of being questioned on his power. It's a guy that some people are kind of starting to fall in love with. He was definitely seen even a couple months ago as maybe a day two guy in the second round. Then he's kind of been rising up lately that he was pretty much a late first round pick to maybe somebody like a Detroit Lions type of guy. And or like maybe like a Kansas City Chiefs if he falls to him, that or the Bills, one of those late 20s team, the Commanders. But at the Senior Bowl, he was pretty much able to dominate everyone. He bullied offensive linemen. His power was really the question. So since he was a smaller guy, and he was able to pancake tons of offensive linemen with his straight bull rush just off the ball. You can tell, you could seen it in the clip. There was another clip of him that was pretty much the main viral one from the Senior Bowl of him going against Josh Connerly, the Oregon offensive tackle who was pass setting against them, and he ran straight at Josh Connerly and bull rushed him and put him on his butt immediately and was able to get to the quarterback, just overpowering him and just bullied him straight to the ground. And with his performance at the Senior Bowl, I think over time, even if he didn't have an amazing Senior Bowl, just looking at his stats and his film, I think a lot more teams are going to fall in love with him. He's going to keep rising up this board. I think by the time that we get to draft day, he's either going to be a top 10 pick or he's going to be an early first, kind of that, kind of the same as Walter Nolan, that 10 to 15 range. But I definitely do think a team could take him in the top 10, maybe like a Panthers or somebody falls in love with him as the replacement to Brian Burns that they lost last year. And he could fit in very well, given that Panthers team some talent at the edge position to be able to just go off and bully offensive linemen using his pass rushing moves to be able to get, movement and being able to get to the quarterback. He led the college football last season. He led college football with 17 and a half sacks. That was number one. He led them in tackles for loss at number one. He pretty much did everything at the University of Marshall, and he was just a straight beast against a lot of these teams, and a lot of these players that were at this level. Now, him being at Marshall was kind of a questionable, is he going to be able to do this against, he's not playing in the SEC. So is he going to be able to do this against first round talent? Is he going to be able to do this against NFL talent? Obviously, you can go out and do this against, Conference USA teams at the University of Marshall. But with him going out and playing a, a tackle against the number one Oregon team for most of the year that was able to pretty much dominate everyone until the college football playoffs, and Josh Connerly, who is a projected first round pick in the late first round, and just put him straight on his butt and bull rush him straight to the ground. He takes away all these questions and he's just showed off his main power of his undersizedness, of not playing strong competition. And he was able to show that off and pretty much solidify himself in either the middle of the first round or, me personally, I think he's going to be a top 10 pick. Kind of reminds me of a Jermaine Johnson from a couple years ago. And then at number 5, Jack Beach, my bad, the receiver from TCU. He was kind of projected to be a day 3 type guy, more of like a 5th, 6th round type guy. I think after the Senior Bowl and what he's going to do at the combine, he's going to move into that day 2 round. Maybe I think he's more going to be like a 3rd round receiver that somebody's going to look to be a number 2 for the next couple of years and be that big body guy. At the Senior Bowl, every practice, we just heard reports of Jack Beach from TCU and his huge frame that he has, and him consistently winning one-on-ones against corners, and and him using his size and speed to be able to go off against a lot of these teams and a lot of these corners. And especially his leaping ability. There was one play in the red zone where he was just pretty much able to go up and get it over one of the corners. So his, consistency and, build of his speed and his power and his big body and big frame, he's able to consistently beat corners in one-on-ones in Senior Bowl, and he was pretty much just beating anybody that lined up against him. And he was able to raise his stock kind of from like a 6th-round guy to all the way up to around a 3rd-round guy at this level. And if he's able to pretty much build that into the combine, he could even be a late 2nd-round type receiver. But he definitely started his collegiate career at Miami, and then he was able to transfer to TCU and kind of get a bigger role. And it really just depends on his 40, I think. If he's able to pretty much run a crazy 40 in his big frame, he could be almost like a Mike Evans type build right there, and obviously not as dominant, but that similar type of receiver at a lower level of production. And I think that he's able to I think he's going to be able to make a huge impact as a number 2, as like a Z receiver, that big body Z type receiver for a team. So these are my 5 risers for the Senior Bowl. These guys boosted their draft stock a ton and were able to pretty much go out and perform at the Senior Bowl in practices to show the scouts what their abilities are and how they can use them and where they could go in the NFL draft. So please make sure to comment down below anything you agreed or disagreed with. Please make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel for future NFL content that I'm going to be putting out. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, feel like John Morant. Need a triple-double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple. I don't drop the ball. Now I never fumble. I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Morant. Need a triple-double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple. I don't drop the